Hello Internet, welcome to Datasphere. This video didn't quite come out the way I had intended. So I was trying out some new encoding for my audio, and I screwed up a few things with this video, and what's the best way to say this? The encoding was wrong. um, it shortened the audio over time. And so eventually, you'll see as you watch the video, but eventually things get a little bit out of sync. And I've done my best to fix it, but I haven't. It wasn't entirely a successful venture. It took longer to edit than I had anticipated, and the video is already quite long. So I've cut it down significantly to some other stuff, and I've changed the editing style a little bit as well, just to see if that helps. It didn't. But I kind of kept it in just as kind of an experiment. So this video is going to be unlisted on YouTube, and I don't know if it'll show up on my VidMe channel. So if you found it, congratulations, hello. I try to keep the quality a little bit higher than this one ended up with, and that's why this one's private. So if you found it, go for it. And if not, then oops. Guess that's all I can say. Oops. Anyway, here's the video. Hope you guys enjoy it. Hello Internet, welcome back to Datasphere. This is our current progress. We have a console app written in .NET Core that shoots off TCP messages to our Unity app, which is currently reading them. And every single one of these messages, I can pause this quick, has a color, a declination, and a right ascension, which defines where it is on a sphere and then what color it should be. I changed everything to blue and added some blooms just so it's a little bit more interesting to look at. And so what this is doing is it's just spinning around, and it's just going to keep going. So what we're going to do with this now is we are going to get rid of this app. Well, we're going to keep it mostly just for testing, but we're going to actually plug in some Twitter data. And hopefully we'll be able to actually see a planet outlined. That's sort of what I'm going for. It's kind of been where I've been aiming. Don't know if it's going to work, but we're going to try it anyway. So, can close this and close that. Actually, I think we can keep this running because we can just work on this, start our app, and then theoretically it should just work. So, I'm going to create a new project for our Twitter account, and then we'll get started. So we'll call it Datasphere plugins .twitter. Seems appropriate. Then we're going to have to do a few things. This is mostly because I haven't quite refactored everything. We're going to have to bring in our Newtonsoft again. And then we're going to have to connect up our common library like that. And then we should be able to bring this down as well. There we go. So we have a data point view model and an empty program. Now, the other thing I'm going to add is another NuGet package that's called link for Twitter, or link to Twitter, I believe it is. And there it is. And so what this is this is a data-based or link-based Twitter library. And I don't think it supports .NET Core. Oops. That may be a problem. What's the best way to do this now? There's going to be we're going to need a different library. Didn't quite think this through. So you need, the problem with .NET Core is you need your libraries to be built for it because it uses different it uses different binaries in a different compiler, and two, it uses totally different standard libraries which means this won't work unless it's built for our stuff. So we are going to need another package. Let me go and find one that I think will work, and I'll plug that in, or maybe get this to work, and then we'll pick back up with this. All right, so I've picked a library. It was sort of the first that came up. I will play with it and see what happens. If it doesn't work, switching them out shouldn't be too hard. I think we can just pull it out and put it back in. If we want to switch to a different library, it shouldn't be extremely difficult if I chose wrong. So we're going to choose Tweet Envy API. I'll link it in the description so you guys can check it out if you want, or not. I don't really. It's up to you. Let's see. We're going to want, actually, there's a better way to do this. Let's just grab this. Like so. And we can just literally just drop it here. And actually import everything like we want. We're still getting these weird errors with this DataSphere client. I don't know what's causing that. I think it's a ReSharper issue because it builds fine. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to set this as our default project, which is, there we go. So this should be our startup project now, which means this should start. I should be able to open this, and we should get that same circle. There we go. So it's doing the exact same thing that it was last time. We're just in a separate project, which means that everything's working. So I can get out of that and open up our project again. Now all we need to do is actually hook everything up, which I don't know how to do. Tell me. Let's see. We don't need our stopwatch because it's going to be based off of input data. And I don't think we need any of that either. Or really any of that. So we're back to this. Let me quick get a sample into here from their API docs, and then we will continue from there. I think we're good. We've got a really basic thing. I pulled in two parts. I pulled in their auth, which is required for actually authenticating with Twitter's API. And then we also have the stream, which is an open socket that we use to connect to Twitter, which pulls things down. And then what this allows us to do is what's the best way to say this? It opens up a port that pretty much says, I want information about this. In this case, we're adding a track for Tweet Envy, which is the name of this library. And then what we do is we pretty much just wait for it. And then when we receive a message for it, then we just stop, or we do this. And what this allows us to do is, instead of polling every like 10 seconds or whatever for new messages that have come up with a specific pattern, we can just say, listen for these messages, and when they happen, let us know about it, which is super useful because it keeps us from doing anything complicated or writing like polling logic or anything crazy. So we have that, and we have this. Now, this consumer key and this consumer secret, I can't show you those. Those come from Twitter's developer portal, and you will need your own if you're going to use this. So I have already created them, and I haven't put them in here yet. I'm planning on actually passing them in as arguments here. So the idea is you pass in a consumer key, a consumer secret, and then the tag that you want to follow. Do we want to have to pass in that? Not really. We're going to do it anyway. So, in order to get this to work, I'm going to quickly stick a write line here. And we are going to write out two arguments. I won't leave this in when I'm actually testing it, but we're going to use args0 and args1 just so we can make sure this is working, and then I'm going to stick a console read here. And so the idea here is we are going to print off the first two arguments that come into our program. And so when we run our program, we are going to want to pass in some stuff. So if we go under debug, there's application arguments. So we can just pass those in. We'll just say arg1, and it should be just space delimited, so arg2. And then if I save that and start, we should see arg1 and arg2 come in. Oops. Can't you find a variable called args? What? Oh, it's happening here. So we can't have an arguments parameter to our lambda because it's part of our function parameter, so the scopes clash and get really angry with one another. So we'll just call this A, I guess. We'll call it the message. That's one too many S's. Sure. There we go. So now it should be happy. It's it's still angry about this common. I don't think we can fix that, so we're not going to. But here, if I start this, we should see our two arguments that we passed in pop up. And they do, which is good. So, oh, excuse me. So the idea here is we are going to accept 3. We're going to do our consumer key, our consumer secret, and then the hashtag we want to follow. And actually, what do you want to display? We'll use that as a message, and then we'll save our filter equal to that. And let's actually do a string filter equal to an empty string. And then what we can do is while our string is null or white space, then we're going to assign our filter equal to the next line. So until you enter something to filter by, it's just going to keep asking you what do you want to display. And so this way we can you don't need to see these arguments. And I don't really want you to. So I'm actually going to go and put those in now. And so we're going to make this args0 and args1. And then through the mastering of editing, it will suddenly be done. Cool. So that should work now. We have everything plugged in. We should be able to get our filter. Then all we need to do is actually plug in our filter here, like so. And then change this so it reads a tweet containing filter has been found, and the tweet is whatever. And then all we do is start, and then we have to wait. And I think this should be async, so we should just be able to don't actually do this. This is a bad idea, but we're going to do it anyway. So I'm going to just delay this by a second, and then we will just keep stepping through. And then after each delay, just so we know it's waiting, I'll stick a log message there. And so we're not going to send any messages to Unity yet, but what we should be able to do is I should be able to start this, authenticate to our API, and then we ought to be able to say, let's find things that include, what's a good thing to search for? Big data. Nope, Okay, that didn't quite work. Invalid credentials. Consumer key and consumer secret must be defined, which means that I set this up wrong. So one sec, I can't. The issue is I can't debug this while you watch because it's going to involve showing the secret and the key. And if you see those, then everything's broken. So we're going to have to do a little bit of fancy editing to get this to work. But I'm going to try to figure this out, and then I will be back once we're making some decent progress. Okay, so we've got it working. We've got one tweet, and I will show you how I change things. I'm actually using user auth now, which just standard. So there's two ways to authenticate for Twitter, and usually for a lot of other applications, you can do like an authenticate or an application level authentication, which is going to authenticate you to use like standard application features. Like say you want to get a list of something, that's going to let you do that. If you want to like post a tweet, that is going to be something specific to a specific user, and you need permissions for that user to do an action for them. And so we need user credentials for that. So I added two more things to our application arguments, and then I just stuck them in there. So that's working, and we are getting things. Now the only other thing I want to check is, yes, we are getting locations. Awesome. Which means for each location in our message.matching locations, we get a location with coordinate 1 and coordinate 2. And those have a latitude and longitude on them, which we can use. So latitude is going to be this, longitude is going to be that, I believe. Yeah, so we're just going to plug values in and see what the heck happens, because why not? Actually, we're not going to do that. That's silly. I'm actually going to check this out and figure out the conversion from that to what our current coordinate system, which is -1 to 1 vertically, and then 0 to 1 horizontally. So let me check that, get that working, and then we should be able to actually send our coordinates to our application based on these filtered tweets, and it should just work. And it'll be fantastic and awesome. Or it will just fail miserably. Okay, I knew the answer to this. What was I thinking? So latitude and longitude are coordinate systems, and they have degrees. So our latitude is up and down, and that's going to go from 0 in the middle to 90 plus or minus 90. So I'm actually just going to submit message with our client and our location.coordinate 1. And then we'll do the same thing for coordinate 2. I don't know if either of these are going to exist. We're going to have to check that out. But we can do that in this new submit message thing. So let's create a method. Blarg, I am getting a little bit sick, so apologies if my voice is quiet or doesn't sound normal. It's been weird. Anyway, we're going to do this, and then we are going to take our client and not do that. That's kind of weird. Why is it thinking I want to do that? Okay, I'm gonna, what? That wasn't what I was expecting. We're gonna get a task like so. And so we submit it, and then I guess we can just ignore it, right? We can just shoot it off and it should be fine. I believe the reason we were running into issues when we were just firing off all those messages previously is we were just flooding the network, because we were literally sending out tens of thousands of messages a second, which is a lot, especially for TCP, which is more complicated because there's a bunch of validation that makes sure things are correctly ordered and all of that other fun stuff. So when we were sending off all of those messages, I'm guessing Unity got behind and then everything just blew up. So we need our message, which is going to be a new data point view model, which we can create. Where is it? Actually, right. I had changed the actual default to sort of a Twitter blue. That's why it was blue. I could have done this by actually doing it right. I could have actually passed this in, but it was easier to just set the default to what I wanted. So that's what we did. Don't do that. That's bad. But for what we want, just for demonstration purposes, it actually works fairly well. So we're going to have our data point. And we are going to create a new data point view model. And that's going to be empty with a color equal to a new data point color. Ah. And then we're going to set our declination equal to our coordinate dot latitude. And we're going to divide that by 90. And that's because in degrees, it's going to be -90 to 90. So if we convert this, everything should work. I hope. And then our right ascension is going to be equal to our coordinate 1 dot longitude plus 180. And that's so we get everything in the proper coordinate system, because it should be Greenwich is going to be 0. But then instead of going 360 degrees around, it actually goes 180 in both directions, which is why you get plus and minus in time zones instead of just all minuses or all pluses. That's why that is a thing. At least I'm going to say that's why that's a thing. It could be wrong, but trust me, I don't know what I'm talking about. Then we're going to divide it by 360, and then we should get our message. Cannot convert a double to a float. Yes, you can. If you ever have trouble with that, force it. That's probably not the right thing to say. Don't do that. In this case, it's fine because we don't necessarily need perfect precision, and we aren't really losing that much. And Unity needs a float anyway, so it's fine. Then we need a message, which is going to be converted to JSON. Dot. JSON convert dot serialize is what we're looking for. And we want to serialize our data point into a message and then send the message and then lose it. I'm actually going to stick a wait on the end, and that will make this a synchronous call. So it will actually stop execution until we complete this, which I think is fine. If it isn't, we'll know pretty quick. And then the only other thing I'm going to do is if our coordinate, we'll keep it coordinate 1 for now, is equal to or not null, then we want to do this. So if for some reason our coordinate is null, then we aren't going to do anything. So coordinate 1, let's not refactor it. I have to do this. And we'll just call it a coordinate, get all of that, and everything should work. We should now be passing in our coordinates, and hopefully things work. Now, I should be able to start this, pull up something trending. We'll have to make sure it's actually trending, and then it should work. Or everything will explode in our face. cannot convert from DataSphere client to DataSphere client. That's because we need a namespace, right? Yes. Pretty sure that's the reason. So I should be able to start this now. And we get it. Cool. I'm going to open up Unity. Everything's still running from before. And now to Twitter to find a trending topic. And then we should be able to see messages pop up if they have coordinates. If they don't, actually, now that I'm thinking about that, let's log this out. So if we have a coordinate, then let's console.writeLine, and then we'll just write the coordinate out. And that way we at least know. And then we'll just say graphing coordinate, like so. And that way we should know that we actually got a message that we wanted to graph. So we'll start this again. No, I'm doing this a lot, but it's the way it works. Go to Unity, plug this in, and then pull up the tweeter and find something fun. So I've got it over here just so none of the people, well, I guess it's public, but anyway, so none of that gets out there. But anyway, what is something interesting? Game. Searching for game. I'm not seeing any positions come out. But the cool thing is, these are all real-time tweets that are streaming in from the internet. And we're getting some weird encodings on some of these. And we're not getting any positions. So I'm actually going to pause this. And let's see what we're finding. Whole bunch of stuff, but nothing particularly useful. There has to be something with a position in it. Did they remove that? I hope not. Okay. I don't know. And so it's hard to tell from here what's going on. And obviously we've got a lot of stuff. But we didn't get any of the stuff we needed. So let's actually stop this quick. It's going to yell at me here because I took this weight out. Hopefully this will just speed things up so we just get way more messages. At least that's the goal. I'm going to pull this up and then search for game again. And we should get about the same. We may see some threading issues, so some things may appear in between one another, but hopefully we get something. I don't know what else to say. We're kind of, this is real data coming from the real world, so it's hard to test. So if somebody tweets something with game in it and has a position, we'll see it. If not, then we won't, which means this probably isn't going to be very useful to us because we don't have any good position data. And without that, we're kind of lost. Okay, I don't think we're going to get much from this. So I'm going to close that. And then let's see. Got our coordinate system there. Let's see what else we get. Match on matching tracks. I don't know. JSON. That would be useful if we wanted to parse our own stuff, but I don't want to do that. And then what if we do a stream dot add location? That's not what I want. So we could add a location and actually get that. Add track. I think the best way to test this is probably manually. So what we're going to do is we are going to actually plug in our own location. I don't know how well this is going to work, but we're going to do something unique. Test. RuneWake 2. That works. I'm probably the only person that really uses that much. So let's do that. RuneWake 2. This is a test. And we've enabled our location, so let's see what we get. I'm actually going to drop a breakpoint here, right there. And this way, we'll be able to actually see what's going on when we see this. So I'm going to bring this up, bring that, and then send it. RuneWake 2, this is a test. We hit our breakpoint. Do we have matching locations? Maybe. Doesn't look like it. Shoot. Matching tracks, RuneWake 2. JSON, what's in here? That's not very useful. There is a way to view your JSON messages in a nice formatted string using the JSON visualizer. So if we plug that in, is there anything that we can use? Minneapolis, yes. Coordinates, yes. There we go. Okay, so we can use that. And now you all know where I live. Oops. That's actually not quite my location. It's close, but it's off. Mostly because I'd prefer not to have people knock on my door. That'd be nice. So we're going to use this somehow. I don't know how we're going to get this. But we want that bounding box. So how do we get that? We're going to have to write our own JSON parser. This is going to be fun. We're going to do that. So the easiest thing to do is not this. We could try to like interpret this and do a bunch of fun stuff to actually get at this information. But we don't actually need to do that. We can just go to Twitter's documentation, look up what this says, and then use it. So I'm surprised that it doesn't actually include this anyway. But anyway, we're going to take this and we're going to use this information because I don't think these coordinates are populated, which makes everything we did worthless. So yeah, I'm going to go and set this up. I'm going to look up some documentation and then I'm just going to lay it out. You don't need to watch me write a bunch of classes. I'll walk you through it when I'm done and then we can catch up and hopefully this will work this time and we'll all be just great, I guess. So, till then, I will be right back. So I think I figured it out. I'll walk you through it, but right now we are actually debugging getting our first coordinate. I think this worked. Let's see. We have coordinates, and so we're getting what Twitter does is it returns a bounding box or a set of bounding boxes. And so that's going to be 4 coordinates. So we're actually going to graph 4 positions per tweet, which I don't particularly like. We can actually add something to like average it out if we want to. For now, it works. This will get us to a point where we can actually work with it. But it's where we are right now. So the idea here is to use that. We've got our coordinate. We're here. Our coordinate is 124 by 8.67, which means I probably have those mixed up. Yeah. So I switched out latitude and longitude. They're backwards. So this is still wrong, but we can fix that. If I switch that like so, it'll be, yeah, this should work now. Plug that in. Let's go for game again. And I'm actually going to just drop these breakpoints, and we should see it in Unity. So if I pull it up and run through this, we can actually just watch our messages pop up. And there we go. So we've started seeing a few messages, not as many as I would like, but maybe it's not as trending as I had thought. We are just searching for game, so who knows? And it looks like a lot of people are not sharing their position. So we're just getting some points and then nothing. But the point is we are getting information, even if it's a little bit sparse right now. So what we can actually do is crank up the lifetime of this to like 2 minutes, which means it will take some time for things to fade in, unless we tweak this. And then we can start this again. Our messages are still popping up, so we'll just suddenly connect to it. And there you go. Now we've got all sorts of fun stuff popping up. And they should stick around a little bit longer, so hopefully we'll actually get a little bit more information from this. Anyway, I think this is probably a good place to end it. We're still doing baby steps, I guess, of getting here. But I will walk you through what I did to get this, and then I'll wrap things up. I've been recording for like 3 hours now trying to get this working. So it happens. Anyway, you can see it's starting to pile up. It looks like we're getting some sort of shape there. Don't know if that's particularly useful, but it's starting to become something. So theoretically it works. It appears to be doing things that we want. I don't know much more than that because it's just points of data and we aren't doing anything other than that. So it does look like the audio may have gotten a bit shifted. I've been having issues with OBS, and it's been, the longer I record, the more behind my video gets and for my sound. So like the video gets backed up, but the sound keeps going at the proper speed. So I don't know how to fix that. And I don't know how to fix it in post either. So if it's off, I apologize. Anyway, we're going to go back to here, and I'm going to walk you through quickly how we're doing what we're doing. And there's really two bits that do it. This is all new. We took out that, and then we're plugging in our coordinates here. So we are passing in a double array. And this is just because we aren't doing anything fancy with Twitter's API anymore. This is straight from their model. So they pass in a latitude and a longitude. We take that and plug it in and then we use it. And that's pretty much that. The next thing, once we have that, is we go from here. We get a bounding box, which is going to be 4 points, and there can be a list of bounding boxes. So if there's a bounding box, what we do is we take every set of coordinates in there. So this is going to be it's a set of coordinates, which means there can be multiple sets. So every bounding box is 4 points, which is going to be eventually what we get here. But what we're doing in this part is we're actually taking our coordinates and we're iterating over each of those to find every pair or every quad set of coordinates. So this gets all of our coordinates from that. Actually, back up a bit. This gets all of our bounding boxes. Then this is going to get all of our quads or our pairs of coordinates. And finally, we submit each of those coordinates off to this to submit them. And that's about that. So how are we deserializing things? We're doing this. This is taken strictly from Twitter's API. So you get a tweet, and that tweet is going to have a place object in it. And that place object is going to have a bounding box. And then that bounding box is going to have a set of coordinates, like I just talked about. So you've got a set containing your bounding boxes, and a bounding box is just a set with coordinates in it. And a coordinate is just a double array. And I don't think there's any reason your coordinates would not have 2 arguments in there. They should always be 2. If they're not, something's probably broken. But we're going to go with that, and I'm going to assume it's true. So that should be that. And then once we do that, we get these eventually we get these double arrays. That's what those for loops we're getting. Once we get that, those are the actual points we want to graph, and that's what we do. We graph those, and this is the result. So whatever's up here is super active, probably the United States. That's probably what that is. I imagine we could probably turn this up significantly. And then if I let this run for a decent amount of time or track something with more people sharing their information, we'd be able to actually get something meaningful out of this. The issue we're running into is, at least right now, there isn't as much data as we need to actually fill out a planet. And so without that, it kind of looks sparse. Hopefully we'll get some of that, and then it will fill out, and then I can work with that. Or we can plug in something else. So that's about it for this video. I thought the last video was long. This one's been 3 hours. I think I can cut it down, but it might take a bit. So I don't know what to say. It was supposed to go out within the next 8 minutes. That's not gonna happen. So, oops. But I guess, yeah, we'll deal with it. So if there's anything you guys want to see, let me know. If there's anything you didn't like, anything you want me to improve, let me know about that as well. But until next time, see you, Internet.